So guys, now the next thing that we will going to discuss is that how public and private addresses are generally allocated over the internet. So you can see that this is the diagram which represents an open internet. An open internet is a collection of hundreds of thousands of devices which are capable of switching and routing the traffic. Alright, so for instance, I have taken 3 routers, but in reality there are thousands of routers which are spread all over the globe, and that represents an internet. Those routers are busy in routing the traffic all across the globe. Alright, now you can see that each of these routers which routes the traffic over the internet are allocated public IP addresses. Alright, as per the range of IP address that we discussed in the previous lecture video, you can see that each of these IP addresses which are assigned to the routers running on the internet belong to the public address range. Alright, now how private networks comes into the picture. So for an example, I have taken a private network of Massachusetts Institute of Technology campus, for instance, and you can see that the private network itself could be a big and complicated network which may contain privately owned network equipment such as routers and switches and hundreds of thousands of machines. So it depends upon the size of the private network. And you can see that each of the device in the private network has been allocated a private IP address. None of the internal device which is present in the private network of MIT campus has a public IP address range. Now, how does this private network communicate with the open internet? For that, we have a special router which sits at the boundary of the private network, and this router is owned by the organization itself. So MIT owns this router. This router is special in the sense that it sits on the boundary of the private network and the public network. Here, public network is an internet. And you can see that the IP address that has been assigned to this gateway router is a public IP address. Alright, so this router which sits on the boundary is referred to as gateway router. So all the internal traffic, that is the traffic which is generated by internal machines which are present in the private network, goes to the open internet through this gateway router. Right? This is the only path which any traffic generated by internal machine takes in order to get on to the public network. And that is the reason that it is called gateway router. It's a gateway for the private network. Similarly, there are hundreds of thousands of private networks all over the world. You can see that I have taken another example, the private network which is owned by the NASA organization. Alright, and it may contain hundreds of thousands of machines, switches, routers, and other networking devices which combine together to build up the private network of the NASA. Alright, and NASA also has a gateway router which has been assigned a public IP address, whereas rest of the machines in the private network of the NASA campus has been assigned private IP addresses. And you can see that the private addresses in different private networks can be reused. These private addresses are never exposed to the outside world, that is over the internet. So as long as it is your private network, you are free to allocate any IP addresses to your private machines within your private network as you wish. Alright, so there are hundreds of thousands so there can be hundreds of machines in all over the world which have been assigned the same IP address, provided that all those machines are present in some private network. So private addresses are reusable. This is the second point. Private addresses are confined within the private network. Alright, private addresses has no meaning outside the private network. On public network, the private addresses are not recognized. Only public addresses are used over the internet. And public addresses are unique. So any packet that's traveling over the internet would have source and destination IP addresses as public IP addresses. Alright? So any packet which is sent out over the internet has a source and destination address as public and private addresses. Similarly, continuing with the diagram, here I have shown another private network, which is a network belonging to some financial institution. Alright? And you can see that the design of this IP address is wrong. There is no such thing like 321. You can take it as 221. And this financial institution network also have a gateway router which has been assigned a public IP address, whereas all the internal machines in this private network has been assigned private addresses. Alright, so any packet which leaves the private network and goes out to the internet would have source address as well as destination addresses as public IP addresses. The routers which are present on the internet cannot route any traffic or any packet whose destination address is a private address. The destination addresses can be routable by a router which is sitting on the internet only and only when the destination address in the IP header of the packet is a public address. Alright? And now look at this point. Any packet whose origin and destination are within the private network has source and destination as private addresses. So for example, this is the machine A and it wants to communicate with the machine B. So you can see that the communication is between the two machines which is in the same private network. So the packet that is generated by the machine A would never go out to the internet, and there is no need, because the destination machine is present inside the private network itself. Alright, so in this case this packet can have source address equal to the IP address of the machine A and the destination address equal to the IP address of the machine B, and we already know that machine A and machine B has private IP addresses. So it means that the packet which is traveling from machine A to machine B can have source and destination address as private addresses. There is no need for this packet to have any public IP address as a source address or destination address, because this packet doesn't need to go out on the public network, that is internet. Alright, now take a final example. This is the example of your home network. Right, you take one simple connection from your internet service provider, and your internet service provider in return give you one public IP address. Alright, this, in case of your home network, this router is nothing but it is your modem or Wi-Fi router. Alright, so this Wi-Fi router is the router which connects you to the internet, and it is this Wi-Fi router that has been assigned a public IP address. Whereas if you notice, all your machines, that is your laptop, your some gaming equipment, your mobile phone, they all have private addresses assigned. And these private addresses are assigned by this Wi-Fi router to each of your devices that you are using protocols such as DHCP protocol, which we will going to discuss in some other course. But for now, you need to understand that all of your machines that is connected to your home network has a private addresses assigned. And it is only your Wi-Fi router that has a public address assigned. So now the question is that how your mobile phone, which has been assigned a private IP address, wants to communicate with, let's say, the machine which is present in the private network of the MIT campus. Both these machines have a private IP addresses. So how a packet which is generated by a machine present in the private network of MIT, let's say this is the machine A, can send a packet, and that packet can travel all over the internet and reaches to your mobile phone? How? What will be the source and destination IP address in those packets? As I said, any packet which travels over the internet cannot have source or destination address as private addresses. They have to be public. Alright? So that is the thing that is made possible by network address translation, which we will going to discuss next. So this diagram captures the entire essence that how internet is nothing but it is a collection of hundreds of thousands of intranets which communicate with each other using public infrastructure such as internet. Internet is nothing but it is a collection of routers which are capable to route the traffic, and these are high-end routers. They can route hundreds of gigabits of traffic. So I hope you are able to understand that what are private and public addresses and what is the use case of private and public addresses.